right. All right. All right. All right, y'all. So we're back in the building. Another episode of CheesTake. Last week we told you guys we were talking about affirmative action. You about to get into that, but before we get anything started, always give honor to God. You know what I mean? God is everything to me, my Lord and Savior. Without God, I don't have anything. I'm nothing without him. So I thank God for everything, every blessing I have in my life, the people I connected in my life. And so definitely want to give him first and foremost all the glory, honor, and praise. So definitely want to put that out there. And so with that being said, definitely want to give shout out Kingfish in the house. Got some other guests probably going to hop on. I have my boy Nate was supposed to jump on. He had some stuff come up. So he may or may not tune in for it. But I got my boy that's back in the building, Quan. We had a great Father's Day session for y'all that tuned in for that. That was actually an amazing session. And so I got him back in the building. You got when you start talking about these issues, man, you gotta have the main the main crew and the main event.
Yeah.
And so Quan in the building, appreciate you joining CheesTake to get in on this amazing topic that's so controversial.
Right.
And there's so many different layers to this. And so I was gonna try to play a couple of clips, man, but I figured you can find a whole bunch of people on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. That's gonna voice their opinion. And so instead of doing that, I was like, you know what, man, we're gonna talk about what affirmative action means to each and every one of us individually, and then what we're going to talk about what it means collectively, right? And look at it from the demographics of it, look at it from the totality of it, and let's kind of break it down. I mean, we could talk about different topics, but we got to get to some of the serious stuff that's happening in the world, because we don't have an outlet with people who's going to sit here and be real with it. So many people that's out here they so political, they're just saying what they want to. They're just saying what you want to hear, right? They're not giving you the real background and history behind a lot of things that's happening right now. So, with that being said, the thing I want to kind of touch first and foremost is I'm gonna ask you guys, what is your definition of affirmative action? Because everybody has a different definition about it, a different take on it, different input on it. And so I'm going to start with y'all. Y'all tell me, what when you hear the word affirmative action, what does that mean to you?
Go ahead, Chris. You got it. Oh.
Well, my question is, what is the actual definition of it?
All right. So the actual definition of affirmative action is basically, let's see here. It's the practice. It involves a set of policies and practices within a government or organization seeking to include particular groups that were historically discriminated against based on their gender, race, sexuality, creed, or nationality in areas in which such groups are underrepresented, such as education and employment.
Okay.
All right. So that's the textbook definition.
Textbook definition.
And that's what it was when it started. Was that the definition, or has it changed over time?
Okay, so there's a question right there, right? That's the $1 million question.
Right.
Had it always been like that? And is it like that now in totality? Because maybe y'all can tell me if I'm wrong. Affirmative action, when we knew about it or heard about it or even spoke about it, it was really for people who are minorities to get to level the playing field, whether it's in education, whether it's, the job place. That's what it was designed for, right? That's what it was for. It's just the
people of color.
The people of color, minorities, Asians, Native Americans, Hispanics. It was just to level the playing field so that when you apply at a university, they just can't pick all the white people, right? They got to include some people in there. When you go for a job, they just can't pick all the white people, right? You have to diversify, right? You have to have diversity in the workplace and the universities. So what happened was, and this is where we're going to talk about tonight, where there are people who are glad it's gone for this, right? There are people. This is some of the stuff I've been reading on affirmative action. So there's some people who are glad it's gone because they said that based on that definition, right? Based on that definition that you just quoted, Quan, all those demographics of people now are included in affirmative action. And so what's happening is that the minorities are still being discriminated against in those practices, because when you go for a job and you go to apply for university, now instead of you have to go up against, let's say, the Caucasian kid, you're going up against women now that's included in that, right? Because they're part of because of sexism, discrimination against women, they're included in that now, right? Then you have all the other minority groups that are included in that. So it's no longer a target based on the minorities getting a fair opportunity now, because the pecking order has now changed. And that's what happened when you include all these different people in it. You see what I'm saying? So now you can't go in there where before, as we could be like, okay, you know what? Between this applicant and this applicant, we'll go ahead and take, to diversify and have diversity in here. We're going to take the African American versus the Caucasian. You see what I'm saying? Because they're very equal candidates, or they're very equal, students at a university. But that's out the window now, because then you have, the LGBTQ community, right? You got the all these other minority groups, which was fine. But then you have, like I said, women. You got all these different genders now and different ethnicities that's included in that. Where do Black America, where do Hispanics, and where do some of these others fall into that group now, versus when we start affirmative action, when we heard about it, it was what? It was for we can level the playing field for Black people.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I mean, okay. So, and that started with what? The civil rights movement and everything?
Right.
That started with all of that. That started with the document that was signed in what, 64, right?
I believe so. So it's from the historical context of it.
61. So the term affirmative action was first used in the executive order signed by President John F. Kennedy on March 6, 1961. Okay. So affirmative action in that manner was based on not discriminating against people, applicants that are employed, or employees, how employees are treated during employment. So
equal opportunity,
promotions on stuff like that.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Okay.
So I think we need to put it in proper context, like affirmative action. Right. So like affirmative action is a term that's used globally. Mm-hmm. So again, it has different contexts and meanings depending on where you're at and where you're located. But of course, we're talking about affirmative action in the United States and why it was either termed, created, used, or now being discontinued in the United States, right?
Right.
Okay.
I think we as Black people first heard the term and started getting familiar with the term in 1964 when the Civil Rights Act of the Civil Rights Act.
Right.
So Civil Rights Act in 1964 prohibited discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin.
Right. Okay.
So one point that I want to kind of pull out right now while we talk about this, because we're talking about what the Supreme Court just ruled on as of a couple of days ago this year, 2023.
Yeah.
They said you couldn't base affirmative action on race. So I don't know if affirmative action was completely wiped out, but race cannot be a factor in affirmative action. So that's something that I think we need to.
Right. So I'm
understand
glad you
that.
mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's kind of cutting the legs out of affirmative action. Because if you can't base it on race, that means that if you take, in other words, you can't base it on race, means that I can't use race anymore to hire somebody of color, right? That can't be a factor
Right.
anymore, right?
Right. So
Which is
you don't have to meet a quota anymore.
exactly right. Which is kind of what we put affirmative action in place from the get go because
Right.
it was all leaning one direction. So if you say,
Mhm.
well, you know what, it's like somebody saying, man, it's like let me give you an example. That's somebody saying, you know what, man, I'm not saying you can't go over here. You just can't drive your car over there. You can still get there. You know what I'm saying? You can get over here if you need to, but you can't take your car. And the only way to get to where you got to go because of the distance is by driving a car. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So by
Yeah.
saying it's no longer based on race, it's saying, okay, we're going backwards because I can't use race anymore, but I'm still quoting the term affirmative action.
So can I ask you this? So because when you talked we talked about this on Tuesday, I wasn't kind of aware of everything that was going on with it. So I've been looking up on it a little bit, and there's a kid that was suing Harvard.
Right. So the Asian kids. So this Asian kid didn't get into Harvard, and so it became
Right.
this big class action thing, and
Okay.
didn't get in because when again there was an equal candidate, right?
Right. Okay.
So a person of color, a black person, and this particular Asian kid. And
Mm-hmm.
so what happened was they had there are certain quotas, like you said, quotas that you meet because you want to
Mm-hmm.
keep diversity going on. So it
Right.
kind of like they kind of met their quota of a certain amount of Asian kids they're gonna let in, Hispanic kids, black kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
this particular kid was like, I should still be admitted because that's not my fault. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not on me. Why is it that this kid over here is just gonna get it? He just gonna automatically or she automatically get in just because of their skin color.
Right.
I'm just as qualified. So that's how it
So
started the whole thing. So now that's why it's all merit based now. They're trying to switch it up to that. And so they went to
so
the Supreme Court. They got all the way up. So
was that the thing that kind of said, okay, now we can go ahead and vote
right,
against it and kick this thing
right. So
up out of
now
here?
right.
Because they
So
said they when they first did it, they said it would probably last. Maybe it's not gonna last. And then when it came back around, I believe it was what, '03. They said they tried to get it out of there in '03, if I'm not mistaken, but it lasts another 20 years.
but
So now here it is. You're gonna go ahead and do this basically using this kid on what he felt like he felt like he was wrong because he didn't get into the college that he really wanted to get into. He ended up going to, I think he ended up getting into Brown, which is
still a
almost
good Ivy
dating
League
it.
school. Right.
Yeah, it's a good Ivy League school. So um my take on the whole thing. Okay, so I mean affirmative action was put in place. They had to word it the way that they worded it. It was really about blacks, but they had to include all people of color, women, and all this kind of thing.
Right. Right.
They had to include that, um, because we know that even women, even white women, were not getting the same kind of pay scale, which they still not today.
Right.
But they're not getting paid as much as the white man, but they still get more than the black woman.
And
And
they're
some of
still in
them
the
get more
positions
than
of
the black
power.
man. They still
Right.
in positions of power. So once again, we knew it wasn't gonna last. They starting it with the schools. Okay. Well, you're gonna do that with the school system. It's funny that this NIL thing has taken off, and then now this is coming up. So to me, the time to go ahead and flee those different establishments and fully invest in your own is here.
Well,
They've been doing it for years.
I think
So I
the
don't understand
atmosphere,
why we
man.
don't do it.
I think I think the culture nowadays, man, is so much different than it was in '03. I think it was a domino effect when they reversed Roe versus Wade.
Yeah,
When they
we
flipped
knew it was coming.
abortion, well,
Yeah.
it was one of those things where it was always they always talked about it, right? It was one of those things that was kind of whispers, but
Mhm.
nobody would actually overturn Roe versus Wade. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like when we talk about, taxes, right? We talk about how these rich, corporate execs don't pay taxes for like
Right.
all these years, right? So it's one of those things where it's kind of like it's out there. We know about
So
it.
so you didn't believe that the affirmative action thing wouldn't
Well, that's the thing. Like, so
because
that's why I said the
I
culture has changed because what happened now is if you look at what they're doing in education now, they're
mhm.
trying to reverse things with books. They're trying to reverse history by not talking about it. What they're saying now is that we don't want to poison these kids' minds, and we don't want to show this part in history and to demean this particular race. So what a lot of white
Right.
America is saying is that, well, those were my ancestors. That's not me. So I shouldn't have to sit here and take blame for that. And then they're saying my kids shouldn't have to hear about all that because
Right.
I don't believe in that. That's not who I
So
am.
and here's my take on that, and I let you go, Quan. But okay, you say you're not you shouldn't feel guilty about it, or those are your then you shouldn't benefit from it either. If that be the case, I mean, if you're not gonna take one, you know what I mean, don't take the other. If you're a person that guided by your own bootstraps and all that kind of stuff that they try to say, then you can do the same thing getting into that college, right? That shouldn't be a legacy thing, right? Just because your grandparent has a their name on the wall or whatever, just shouldn't allow you just automatically just get into that expensive
But
school.
but that's not how it works, though, Chris.
I know that's
We
not how
know,
it works, but
right?
what
So
I'm saying is, I mean, you can't cancel out one and not cancel out the other. That's all I'm saying.
right. I mean, in the premise of it, yes. You know what I'm saying? You're not supposed to do that. But the problem is that in society now, man, what they're doing is a lot of people need to wake up and understand that all these things that are happening is creating an atmosphere where they're demeaning and they're really belittling the progress that Black people are trying to get to. Because what their plan was back in the day backfired. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like white America for the longest time thought that since if you're a minority in this country and you're only getting certain kind of jobs, right? You only get certain kind of positions.
Right.
So their thought process was, if this is the glass ceiling for you, that when you retire, your child is going to take your place.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you wasn't supposed to go any higher than what your parents had. So what happened was they didn't think about it. But if I'm a janitor, I'm not teaching my son to be a janitor, right? I want
Mhm.
better for him. I want him to go to schools. I want him to have, I'm gonna push him to do better. Whether it's education, sports, music, whatever it is, I'm gonna push him to be better than me. And
Right.
that's what started happening in totality, right? So that when affirmative action was in place, you got kids that's from the hood that went to Harvard that they would have never got an opportunity to go to on any given day. They would
Even
have never
even
got a,
even even though their grades would
even though
would give it
grades were
up.
great because the school that they go to was not a level 9 or level 10 school. You see what I'm saying? You in the hood, a lot of these schools in the hood are like level 2 and level 3 schools and don't have the resources. So
Right.
even though you are valedictorian in this school, guess what? They're not going to look at you like they look at the valedictorian from that, best school in the district. So what
Mhm.
affirmative action did was hey, you know what? You was a valedictorian over here. This kid is a valedictorian over here. We're going to give y'all both the same opportunity. You get what I'm saying? That's what it was supposed to do.
Right.
What you got, Quan?
So let me ask you guys, are you both then? So let's put it out there. So are you for or against affirmative action? Chee?
Yeah. I'm for affirmative action.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah. I and the reason why I am, like I said, is I mean, just history within itself. The opportunity, a lot of people didn't get certain opportunities just because of their skin color. So that's kind of how I looked at it as far as that. Now, I mean, what you know is what you know. I mean, you in them books, and I believe you deserve the opportunity to go to school of your choosing, and you shouldn't be not allowed, because of your race, and vice versa. I mean, if you got what it takes to get into that school, I don't understand why they, what the quota thing is. But
right,
I mean,
but that's what they have. They get so many applicants. What they're saying is that what's happening to a lot of universities was like, okay, we done picked like, out of 100, we done picked 50 Caucasian kids, right? And now the other 50 is a pool of Hispanics, Asians, African Americans. That's what they were trying to figure out, but all these applicants, who do we let in?
But my question is, if you're looking at it, just that's why I don't understand. I don't understand you putting that stuff on the application. What does it matter?
What
if my grades are my grades, then why do I have to put down here that I'm black, white, this, what I mean, whatever.
That's what to me, it's country we live in.
Can I answer it?
It's like some.
Can I answer it? Because this is America, you know what I'm
going to say.
Yeah,
I was like, that's exactly what it is.
So let me all right. So let's go with this. All right. So you both said you were for affirmative action. Right. I'm totally against affirmative action, and here's why.
Okay.
What's the difference? And I'll pose this question to you before I go into my reasons why. But what's the difference between getting a degree from Harvard and getting a degree from TSU?
It shouldn't be a difference.
But there is, though, right? But
there is a difference, right? Because of however the hierarchy of the educational that's no different than saying what's the difference between the best school in the district and not the best school in the district. It shouldn't matter. But
if we're all reading out of the same book, I don't know why it should matter.
But answer my question. Why? What is the difference? Why is there a difference? Tell me the difference. Why? If I have a degree, if I get a degree from TSU and you get a degree from Harvard, what's going to be the difference?
Well, because of the schools have different criteria and standards that are different. And TSU's standards for admissions is not the same as Harvard. So Harvard has a standard that they set that they only take the top 3-4% of any school. TSU is not equal to that because they don't take the top 3 or 4% of every school. And if you look at the resources, if you look at the schools itself,
tier though.
But it's no different than a car. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, let me ask you this then.
No,
if you have 2 cars, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like saying, okay, you know what? What's the difference between a Benz and a Chevy?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Are they both cars? You know what I'm saying? They're both cars. Yeah, no, not just the name. If you drive a Mercedes and you drive a Chevy, it's completely different driving experiences.
That's part of the issue that is wrong with what we're talking about right now. You know what I'm saying? Because no matter the driving experience, both go from A to B. That's all they're for. That's the only point they're for. So if I have a degree from TSU and you have a degree from Harvard, what does that ultimately get you? Why do we get degrees in the first place?
Right. You get a degree because whatever the job requirement is, they put it out there. You need a degree for whatever it is that you need. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying with you is yes, a vehicle will take you from point A to point B. But when you get a Mercedes, there are different features in that car there are different things that happen in a car. There's different technology and different things that are afforded in that vehicle that's going to put them in a different price bracket than somebody with a Chevy. It's the same through education. You take the top 3 or 4% of the valedictorians of the top schools in the country, they're not going to be able. Somebody from TSU, even though they could be a great student, they're not going to be able to sit in the classroom academically.
I get it.
Stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
To
I
handle a kid like
understand.
that.
I understand what you're saying, but if both vehicles broke down, there's probably going to be a Chevy that's going to come pick up one of them. You know what I'm saying? It's going.
But that's not.
I get what Quan is saying. You know what I mean? What's the?
There is a difference in everything, and I think that's what we got to be. We got to look at things for what it is. There's a difference. If you live, here's the deal. If you work hard and you make a certain amount of money, you're going to live. You're going to qualify for a loan and mortgage, and you're going to be able to buy a house that costs anywhere from $400,000 to $1 million. Right? The next person that don't make that certain kind of money, guess what? Their mortgage payment affords them a house that it's going to only be from $100,000 to $200,000 or $300,000, $100,000 to $300,000 home. They're both homes, right? They both got 3 bedrooms. They got bathrooms. They got all that stuff.
So regardless of my money, am I still going to get the same kind of credit line?
Right, you get a certain credit line, but you don't get the same perks and features of that card. Every card is different. A Platinum MasterCard, American Express, is completely different than another one over here that might be a Discover.
And back to what we was talking about, regardless of my race, would I still get that same credit line?
That's what we're talking about, Chris. Like, you're not going to get that what they do with that's what affirmative action was there for, right? So because if you say this person over here could get that credit line, and I got the same income, I got the same credit score, I got the same criteria. Affirmative action said, you know what? You just can't take this person over here. I got to get a piece of that. Let me get a piece of that as well. I should be able to be allowed to get that.
So when you don't get that, what do you do?
Well, that's the thing. Before affirmative action, there were lawsuits because black people and minorities is like, you got 80% of white. Why are you not taking me? You know what I'm saying? They are taking away affirmative action, in my opinion, sets up lawsuits. Because a lot of people are going to be like, where do I get an opportunity?
I think a lot of people, the way that they think is okay, well, all right, then we're cool. Well, why do we want to go over that then?
Because America was built on the back of slaves, and it's still a bunch. There's some racism in this country. So you can't get that.
No. Understand what I'm saying? I'm just like, a person that didn't get into that particular place. A lot of people think as, all right, well, cool.
You can
some people
else.
Like, all right, well, cool. I'll just go somewhere else.
Right. Exactly, and that's the debate,
but...
right? And that's what we're saying. It's like if I'm in a dealership and this person over here, because they got their money and they feel that they got this, and I go get that car, they feel like, well, I was here, I should be able to get the same vehicle, and that's selfishness.
You turn me down, I'm not gonna give you that money. That's just me. But Quan, what you got, man? You about to cook. I feel you gonna cook.
There's like so many different points that you guys are jumping on and stuff, but it's like, damn. I mean, I'm trying to hear all of the, saying all the aspects of it, but like so again, by design. I think I said this in the last time I was on with you guys. You know what I'm saying? By design, this game has been by design created. For others to prosper and others to not prosper.
Exactly.
That's all this is. All this is simply that. Because I don't care if you have a Mercedes or if you have a Honda. You know what I mean? A car is to get to A and B, and sometimes a Mercedes driver is not a better driver than a Honda driver. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it doesn't. All of that stuff is totally relevant. You know what I'm saying? Her affirmative action should have never been in play in the first place, to be quite honest with you. Matter of fact, it hindered us as a black people, as a people. Because
I beg to differ on that.
Let me answer why it hindered us as black people. Okay. Because we took that as okay, now we're having the opportunity to, to get into certain universities that we wouldn't have gotten into. We're now, because affirmative action is more than just education. employment. We're able to get into jobs or positions inside of jobs that we wouldn't be able to get to because of affirmative action. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the play was it should have never been to wanting to just get into something. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong. There's nothing
You're
wrong.
absolutely right.
There's nothing wrong with TSU. There's nothing wrong with black
HBCUs.
jobs.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with black jobs and black companies.
Right.
The simple fact is that the game has been played against us, and we're just at a lower state in a sense. You know what I'm saying? We don't have the well, some of them do. You know what I'm saying? Some of them been here since 1800 something, whatever. You know what I'm saying? As long as Brown or Harvard or any of these other ones. You know what I'm saying? But the simple fact to say that we don't have the ability to learn on the same pace or the same subject matter or the same platform or criteria as our counterparts, was BS. It was always BS.
Yeah. Right. But it was never about intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Like, we always knew it was nothing about you being smarter than the next person. It's never right.
It wasn't about intelligence. It wasn't about intelligence to us.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's why affirmative action was important, because what it did was like you said, it got us through doors that we would never, because all it would do is move the bar. So black schools, even though they'd be amazing, you could be a valedictorian at TSU. You know what? They wouldn't even give you. They wouldn't give you a time of day because the school wasn't recognized as being an Ivy League school or whatever, right? The system is designed that these schools over here are the ones that's considered Ivy League, top tier, whatever. So even though we try to go the system, right, the system is still going to be in place. So you could have a prestigious, amazing HBCU university with amazing kids. But what would that do if you can't get into Goldman Sachs? You can't get into some of these major corporations because why? When I go in the application and they see you went to TSU and they see this kid went to Harvard and the degrees and the academic culture and criteria that's at this school versus this school, they're not going to get in. They're not going to get that kid from TSU an opportunity. So that's why you have affirmative action, because this kid from TSU can say, I'm a valedictorian, like he a valedictorian. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like him. We both smart. So I can get into Harvard like he can get into Harvard. He get into Yale, I could get into Yale. So that's what affirmative action was doing. It was getting us indoors where you have intelligent black kids who have an opportunity. They can come from the hood. They can come from, middle America, wealthy. It didn't matter. We all could sit in the same classroom. We could all sit here and educate each other and get the same degree walking across that stage. But that's not what if you take away that right now, can you answer me this, Quan? Can you guarantee that the kid from TSU, that's a valedictorian, that sat here in high school because he was zoned to the school, right? And maybe he didn't go to the best school in the district, but he's super intelligent. All of a sudden now he goes to apply to this college or he goes for this job without affirmative action because they don't have to no longer consider race. Can you say he's going to get that job now versus this other kid?
I'll tell you this. He should. Because
he should, but is he though?
Again, so he should, because again, we're talking about something from 1961. So we're talking about what, 62 years ago? 62 years ago. By this time, from affirmative action 61 till now, there should have been some progress in our own. Right. TSU should be recognized because TSU had a plethora of people come through it. You know what I mean? Just for an example, you know what I'm saying? We had a plethora of black folks go through Ivy Leagues and top tier universities or whatever. Right. So we shouldn't be liable to still depend, because the degree is just to get you into the door for the working class, the next step or phase of your supposed life, career or work path. You know what I mean? So so now we should still be talking about, okay, now that we had affirmative action or whatever, you know what I'm saying, and we talking about 62 years later, from affirmative action even being mentioned, you know what I mean, we shouldn't even be at this point to where we are sitting there thinking like, oh, we can't go get a job and make 6 figures or whatever it is anywhere now, because again, all of that affirmative action should have been to put black people in place to have their own, not to work for somebody else. That was always the problem. We always accepting what they give, and affirmative action technically was never even given to us. We talked about civil rights. We talked about affirmative action based off of what? Racism in this country, slavery in this country, injustices in this country, segregation in this country, all of the things that they did to Black people in this country. That's what it was about. Black people in this country. There was an injustice. There was an injustice that took place.
Do those things still exist to this day?
The remnants of it do. Hell yeah.
To this very day, all that stuff you say still exists.
Exactly. I can walk out my front door and see the remnants of it still to this day.
To this day. So that's why we don't need to get rid of affirmative action, because it still exists to this. Everything you're saying makes perfect sense. There's no difference between TSU and Harvard. There's no difference between this Black kid and this white kid. There's no difference that Black people should have their own. We should be building businesses. We should be doing those things.
I kind of see what Quan is going with it.
You missing the point of it. The point of it should never been about inclusion. Right. It should never been about inclusion. You know what I'm saying? Because once you have inclusion, nobody thinks about why we actually had to be included in the first place. Why we were never not included in the first place. This is why we're talking about all these things right now in the first place, right now, right? Because there's this underlying thing, and this, again, I keep using the word game, that, we're going to not correct the injustices that happen, you know what I'm saying? But we're going to erase the injustices. We don't want to sit here and keep talking about slavery and Black people and their the troubles that they're still having in 2023 after all that has been done to us. They don't want to talk about this.
They don't want to talk about it no more.
They're ending affirmative action based upon race, not gender, not sexuality, not nationality. So that same kid that didn't get into to the Harvard or whatever, that Asian descended kid, he probably was looking at it from a affirmative action standpoint too as well, because he still could have went on a nationality sense. He could have said, "Hey, my nationality gives me the right to be here, not on top of my grades." You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But they still going to be able to play that play. But what Black people won't get is the same injustices that we've always been getting. That's the play. We're getting played out, man. We're getting eradicated from what we've so-called strive so hard to get. The whole civil rights movement, the whole we shall overcome and affirmative action, and we need to be a part of it, whatever y'all are doing. And all they're trying to do is uninclude us. It's an undermining going on right now. And that only happens because we don't even teach or require our history to be taught. They don't want to keep talking about what they did that was wrong. You keep talking about what they did was wrong.
That's my point.
The mindset and the attitude amongst people, whether they're white, whether they're Chinese coming to this country, whether they're Indian come to this country. If you got to be taught about what quote unquote European Americans did to Black people in America and where we are today, you know what I'm saying? It'll be a whole different dynamic and you know what I'm saying, and thought process that's going on around this. You gotta Asian Americans are what are up in arms about Black people being mad about race being taken out of affirmative action, because they feel like, oh, I come over to this country, you know what I mean, and I worked hard and I should be able to get into said university just based off of whatever. And I understand them saying that. Why? Because they don't know the history. They don't know the history. Affirmative action never said, you know what, we're going to put in affirmative action so you can get into these universities, but we're also going to take this education, in America and require that we teach you about, the Black American history, slavery, the impact of slavery, why we're still feeling the remnants of what happened to us, to our grandparents or our great grandparents back then.
And not just Black American history, but the full history of America. Yeah. If you talk about the full history of America, and you're gonna have to talk about all of it.
Everything that you guys are saying,
this country is not clean, bro.
Man, this country is built on the blacks. It was built on the backs of slaves. This whole country was built on the backs of slaves. That's why they're taking it out of schools. They don't want you to discuss Black history. They want to, like you say, eradicate the system in place that protected us, as if we don't even matter. All these things you guys are saying is exactly why you have to have something in place. You can term it differently if you want to, But because America to this very day is still racist, it's still sexist, they still discriminate, whether it's the justice system, whether it's the workplace, whether it's your universities. So even though everything you're saying makes sense, the problem is the system that is still in place has not changed throughout these years. So even though you would say, okay, the people should change their mindset, they should look at things, they should evolve, right? They should evolve as a society. We should not be looking at things this way. All black people don't live in the hood, and we're not all ghetto, and we're doctors and we're lawyers and we're businessmen and businesswomen. The problem with America is, and we see it all the time, especially when you talk about the criminal justice system, when the police pull you over, all of that doesn't matter. All they see is your skin color. All they see is you black, you driving a certain car, or you black, and they're going to treat you a certain way. And that kind of mindset is trickled down in universities. Them same people that are police officers here got kids that go to your kids' school. They got friends that go to these schools over here. They got peers that go over here. They play on the golf course. So that mindset has not changed. So even though what you're saying makes perfect sense and it's completely validated, the system that is currently constructed the way it is, you have to have something to protect the fact that, hey, man, I need to have at least an opportunity to infiltrate that system, because that system is this very same system we all deal with. We all got to apply. If you work a job, you got to apply for it, because everybody ain't made to be businessmen and businesswomen. So that's not everybody's call. There's some gifts and talents. Some people have to be a doctor, a lawyer, pilot, whatever. You know what I'm saying? How are they going to get the same opportunity if TSU don't offer that aviation program? But Harvard does. And I'm a valedictorian. And I can't get in over here because that system is designed so that this is where we got. If you want to get in, and I see the neighborhoods now. You know what they did now? Used to zone schools where everybody was equally able to go to the same school. You know what they did now? They put schools in neighborhoods now. So you know what they do now with that? They say real simple. We don't discriminate. You just got to make this amount of money. You got to make this amount of money if you want to go to this school. You ain't zoned over here. We ain't zoned over there. If you want to if you want to go to that school, your house got to be in this neighborhood. And guess what them houses starting at? 350,000, 400,000, 500,000. Well, guess what? Unless you have some kind of degree or own a business, it's very hard for you to bring in that kind of income so you can live in that neighborhood, so you can go to certain schools. You know why? Because the system has stood in place to say, this is where it is. Is it wrong? Absolutely. But that's how it's been for all these years. So everything you're saying, it has not changed.
So therefore that's the problem. That's why I'm saying affirmative action was never the solution. It was not. It's not even. It didn't protect anything. It doesn't.
Right. I'm completely agree with you on that. Right. It's not a solution. Right. But it has to be something. What I'm saying is there has to be some safeguard in place to give us an opportunity.
The door has to be cracked in some kind of way.
Right. There's no,
because the door has to be cracked in some kind of way.
Right. Because all they're gonna do is say, you know what, we don't take. I heard somebody say, you know what, we don't acknowledge University of Phoenix. I heard somebody say that. Look, we don't recognize that school.
There's always a way to get around anything. I don't care what law is written, because it's not written by us. So whatever law there is, whatever thing they put up, they will find some other kind of way to do something.
Unless you infiltrate that system, the only way if you want to eradicate it, you have to infiltrate it and make some changes within that system so it balances out for everybody else. Because all they're going to do is change the rules, like you say, Chris. You know what they're going to say? Well, we don't recognize TSU as this kind of school. We think it's a great university, but what we're looking for over here is that they don't have a great aviation program. You know what they did? They said, okay, we need an aviation program. They know what they do in high school now? They took our wood shop and put robotics. Right. So guess what?
But, I mean,
everybody unless you go to a certain kind of school, you don't get wood anymore. You don't get wood shop no more. You get robotics.
Y'all said it before. The goalposts keep moving. It is what it is. I mean, slaves were freed, then they found ways to put them back into slavery. You know what I mean? How did Jim Crow last for so long?
Right.
I mean, how is the South different from the North if we all in the same United States? Why is it different laws and different rules and things like that? You have people fleeing from the South just to go up north,
Well,
just
the
because of
North
how things and how raw the laws are written, because we're not the ones that's writing the laws. When this nation was established, we wasn't in mind. We was in
exactly,
fields.
exactly.
So these things are not set for us. So a lot of times the inclusion thing is a detriment to us because we got to go in under whatever laws that they got. They
Right,
got the rule book.
but that's the only way you change it. You can't go if you try to go out here and be an outsider and try to. How are you going to change a system that's been around for that many years? All that, like you say, you know what they're going to do? They're going to move the goalposts and they'll eradicate what you're trying to do. That's all they're going to do, and they're going to raise the bar. That's what they did with the education system.
If we keep having to infiltrate.
But that's what I'm saying to you. The only way to make changes is that there's a big giant system in place. So you have to do something to break that monopoly. Because if you come over here, they're gonna crush you. Just like in the education, my kids went through the education system, so I know what I'm talking about. We were zoned. They literally changed the zoning for these schools. That was so ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It was so crazy. It was like this street went to this school, and the next street went to another school. Literally. You know why? And then they got smart with that. They're like, okay, they got lawsuits. They're like, okay, you're right. Here's what we'll do then. We're going to build these new homes over here, and we're going to put these schools over here. And they do the same thing with these jobs. They'll say, you know what? Here's a position. You got to have a bachelor's degree. You got to have a master's degree. You got a certain level of education. And then they'll say, okay, you know what? Hey, there's no knock on University of Phoenix. We don't knock on online universities. We don't knock certain things. But guess what? It's okay. We have a more qualified applicant because this school, this accreditation school, the system that they created, this is where it's placed: Harvard, Yale, Brown, whatever. So what you really need is some students to get up in here who not from the south, from the south side of Chicago. Maybe they're from the hood. Maybe they're from a demographic that could go in there and say, you know what? I'm going to try and make some changes up here. I'm going to be the difference maker. I'm going to try and do something a little different. And guess what? You can't kick me out because I went to Harvard. You can't do me like this because I went to Brown. I went to Cornell. I went to this school. But the problem that we have is when a lot of cats go to these schools, they don't get back to their communities. They don't go back and make changes with the infiltration. They become part of the system.
So so in a nutshell, again, we all saying the same thing, but you're saying it kind of different. You're saying something different, but it doesn't work. Bottom line, it didn't work. It never worked. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. But to just eradicate it all the way around, to not have any safeguards in place, I don't think was the answer. I don't think you just completely eliminate the race part of it.
I get that. What I'm saying is, man, look. All right, well, cool. I don't get into that school. Okay. Well, let me go to this school over here. Let me get that education. Let's make this school one of the top schools.
But that's not how it works.
Let's stop giving our money over there when they don't want us there.
Yeah, but even if you stop like, giving them like
my
that,
my thing is the same thing. If you go to a restaurant and they treat you like trash, what you gonna do? You gonna keep going?
No, you're not gonna keep.
Food ain't that good. I'll find somewhere else to go.
Absolutely, your money's good as your. Look, I completely agree with you on that. But there's a reason why that restaurant's still in business. Whether they treat you horrible or not, that restaurant makes millions of dollars because they offer quality of service.
But somebody ain't getting treated bad.
Right. You mean
so they're gonna keep on going.
Somebody's not going to get treated a certain way, but the system in place is that the only way to get around this is that you have to have safeguards in place. And for Black people, what I'm seeing in America right now, abortion gets getting overturned. Right. So a lot of people who vote, they say, okay, you know what? I'm for abortion. Didn't understand that abortion is not about some chick that got pregnant, that, or some teenage girl, somebody being reckless got pregnant, and now they're just trying to abort a baby. There are a lot of complications go along with that. There's a lot of women who have to have abortions because their bodies can't carry a baby for 9 months. A lot of them, millions of women that go through that. Medical reason, medical stuff. But the people who say they're against abortion don't factor that in. They don't think about it. They're thinking about, oh, this chick got knocked up. Oh, she want to be irresponsible. No, you ain't gonna get no abortion. It's the same mindset with education. They thinking that, oh, you went over here, so you know what now? Because you didn't go to Harvard, now we can't offer you this job. You know what I'm saying? You can't do it here.
A lot of the ones that, let's be for real, a lot of the ones that's going against abortion looking to adopt. Let's be 100.
Wait, hold on, man.
They can't produce because they what they're saying.
Y'all going off topic, man.
That's a whole.
I'm just saying.
You know what the problem with abortion is? You know what the problem with abortion is? Men are talking about abortion. It's not something we should ever be talking about. It's not something
men always been talking about it.
But women now have not.
Men always been talking about it. That's the issue.
That's what I'm saying. Men sit here and try to make laws based off of that. I mean, it's like that's something that shouldn't even come out of man's mouth. Because again, you never gave birth to a child. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You never had those experiences. You know what I'm saying? So create laws to say abortion is something else or not. If women didn't say it and unanimously agree upon it, then we shouldn't even.
A lot of women, man. But here's the thing: it's not even the men; it's the women that are backing these men. A lot of women support what these men are doing. A lot of
that is, though. We know what that is. We know what that is.
You know what I'm saying?
We can move on from that one. We know what that is. But
yeah, so look, I'm looking at a question in here. It says, so without affirmative action, what other potential solutions can be made available to protect people against discrimination? So again, my point was affirmative action never protected us because it was never about us. No, it was an inclusion thing. Again, inclusion is always going to be something that's going to be skeptical, subjective, because it's like, again, like she said, we were never a part of the inclusion in the first place. So how are we going to be a part of the inclusion now? They never wanted to include us, so therefore it was never designed to say, hey, you know what? We're having affirmative action is a civil rights sub action for Black people because of X, Y, and Z. They just said, hey, you know what? We feel like maybe we did a little bit of wrong, but we're not going to take accountability. But here's affirmative action for, again, gender, race, nationality, sexuality, and I think creed or something like something like that. You know what I mean? So it was a whole, it's like AKA, it's everybody's an inclusion thing and everybody inclusion. Right. But everybody's not affected in that same manner as what we're talking about.
Right.
That's why affirmative action never worked for Black people, because affirmative action was never about Black people. Did Black people some of them benefit? Yes. It was some that benefited, but just like what she said, that benefit didn't help the overall cause or issues that we were facing as a people, as a whole in the United States of America.
Right.
And now the undoing of it, and the undoing of everything that they're trying to do, which is totally eradicate the history of Black people in America, in a sense to where it's like it never really happened. It's just, we all on an equal playing field. You know what I mean? Well, none Black people have gone through the system of you know what I'm saying, taking advantage of these so-called affirmative actions and things of that nature, that they should be good now as a people. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
A lot of Black people out here,
bro. We got that as soon as Obama got elected. As soon as he got elected, right. See, we let y'all in. It's that kind of thing.
But that you're validating my point because of that, right? Inclusion was never about protection, and I think that's the problem. Inclusion was never about protection. Inclusion meant that we are breaking some form of barrier so that I can at least get in here. And the hope was we were going to get in there and make some changes. Did it happen? Not necessarily. There's some people that did great. Some people that were given the opportunity and took advantage of it and did what they're supposed to do. The problem was they never gave back. They never represented the community to the place where, like you said, like Quan was just saying, it was never built for them to do that. They let you in. They let you in your home to say, like somebody said, make yourself at home. You know what I'm saying? But then you got a KKK flag up here. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, wait a minute now. You said make myself at home. I don't feel like I'm at home. But you're inside my house.
I think that has been going on for so long, man, that a lot of people wasn't even really thinking about affirmative action
for real
until this this thing came up right here. Like I said, I didn't know what y'all when you mentioned. I was like, man, what the world going on? I kind of haven't been really paying attention.
Because at this point, you automatically assume that black people are getting into these universities and colleges on their merit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Based off
you would assume that. Yeah,
right. So again, one, to be up in arms about it shouldn't be an issue, really, when you think about it in a sense. And to not be up in arms about it, you know what I'm saying? I could understand both plays on it. What I'm saying to you is that, you know what I mean, it didn't work. It never worked. Because why it didn't work? Because again, just off the premise of why we're even talking about affirmative action and what this is impacting, we're talking about work class. Well, excuse me, we're talking about education and we're talking about livelihood. Education, livelihood. Those are the two overall goals of life for human beings in America. Right?
Exactly.
Right.
Education, livelihood. Those go hand in hand. To tell me that with affirmative action, or to tell me that with all the people that are supposedly went through all of these universities, that there's not a top tier black university, it didn't work. To tell me that we have, I don't know how many Fortune 500 companies in America, and not one of them is a black company, it doesn't work.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? My point is, it doesn't work. System or no system, it didn't work because one came in to want to be included in the system instead of saying, no, the system is, I don't want to be included in the system that did me wrong. If a system was designed to do me wrong, then the system is going to always be designed to do me wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let me ask you this then. Let me ask you a quick question then.
Yeah.
Would it benefit us having a black doctor who graduated from one of the best medical schools in the country when it comes to diagnosing diseases that's related to us, that can diagnose what we go through, how we deal with things? Because it's easy to have a white doctor who have gone through modern medicine, but it's different when you have a black doctor who is actually African American, who DNA and whose the genetic makeup is completely different. So this doctor could go in and say, you know what, we're going to test some things. We're going to do this because I know black men go through this, that, and the other. Black women have experienced this because maybe his wife is black. Can that one doctor go to Johns Hopkins University, have an opportunity to go to that school, make a difference at a major hospital? He can.
I understand what you're saying, Chee, and I get that. Yes, you're right. But my point to you is, why is there still only Johns Hopkins University? Why isn't there Quan University, you know what I'm saying, of hospital? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I'm 100% with you, Quan. It's the system is, but that's what you're saying is that I'm 100% agree with you. The system itself is jacked up. We shouldn't even have to compare it. We shouldn't have to, to put down one and put up the other one, and they're both studying medicine. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think, all right, they went to Johns Hopkins. All right, well, cool. I mean, some of
a lot of these schools have, if you have to understand, the best, just like the best schools in the district have the best resources. They have the best teachers, the best programs, the best computer systems, the best technological stuff. It's no different in universities. Okay,
that's false. That's false.
A lot of them, no, I didn't say that the schools
they have
are
the most
better.
money. That's what they got.
But the most money creates what, Chris? Most money gonna give you the most things that you're gonna have.
The most money doesn't qualify you to be the best teacher, bro.
I never said it's gonna be the best teacher. I said you have the best resources.
But you said in these places got the best resources. They got the best teachers.
A lot of them have a lot of these schools recruit the best teachers to go to the best schools. The best minds in the world go to Oxford and Harvard and Cornell. Now, does that every student? No. There's some geniuses that probably go to a different school. But when you look at the totality of it, there's a reason why. There's a reason why. Look, we can distribute. Look, we can agree to disagree, or we can look at things in totality. We could say, like Quan said, all cars to take you to point A to point B. All schools should offer U.S. history at Harvard. It's the same U.S. history you get at TSU. Because American history is American history. It is. However, it's not just U.S. history, right? It's a lot of things that are included in that curriculum, in that program, in that school that has that school in a different tier. Whoever set that, I agree with you. They set it that way. And we have to infiltrate that because why can't TSU have the same thing as Harvard? What's the difference?
You know what?
Harvard,
The difference is?
Harvard ain't gonna teach the whole history.
You know what the difference is? The endowment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The endowment is the difference. Why is that a difference though? And we could say Harvard, Ivy League, those are more politically driven schools. They have they're in the process of graduating from there is to go into government politics, things of that nature, right?
Right.
But there's only a handful of Ivy League schools. So let's just say universities, top tier universities. I got one on my hat right now, Michigan. You know what I mean?
Great school.
Why is it a great school? The school is supposedly great because, for one, its endowment is ginormous. Their donors are ridiculous, right? You know what I'm saying? What's the number one money generating thing of university? Not only just let's just take away athletics, right? And of that athletic class, of those students that are on those athletic teams in their schools, let's just say, what race are those kids?
Oh, they're black.
They're black. Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. So we understand that there's a play being played here. So we can understand Michigan being Michigan and always being Michigan, and TSU still being just TSU.
Absolutely.
Right.
So again, by design, there's the system we all agree on is flawed. Because again, it doesn't include all, you know what I mean? But yet we still look at it from a point of like there's opportunity or hope in it, and it's not. Right. That's my point. It's not.
But you have to look at it. If you go to Michigan, I mean, let's go. If you are a 4 or 5 star athlete, okay, and the endowment is bigger at Michigan, and TSU closer to the house, TSU is a great school. They may have a great program. That kid 9 out of 10 times is going to go to Michigan, despite how amazing TSU is. You know why? Because they look at playing time, they look at exposure. Who's going to be on ESPN?
But
what coaches are going to be able to see them? What NFL coaches?
You just said the endowment. You just said the endowment. So yeah, the NIL. That's what I said earlier. The NIL makes a big difference now. Now, before NIL, it was about exposure. But I mean, they was getting money up on the table. We know that. But it was about the exposure. Back in the day, man, some of these top tier people that's in a Hall of Fame, bro. You know what it was? They read the paper. They didn't have no film on these cats. They read stats. They seen what these dudes was doing. You got one of the greatest running backs ever to come out, came from a predominantly black school.
Yeah, I mean, look, Shannon Sharp came out of Savannah State. I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm with you on that.
So that side of it doesn't matter. It's the endowment, like you said, the glitz, the glamour. But
that comes with. But that's my point.
That comes with that. But what I was saying earlier was, okay, man. Look, if you don't want me there, all right, well, cool. I'm gonna go over here. We're gonna raise this thing up. We're gonna make this thing big. I'm gonna go over here, get my education. I'm gonna do things to where you're gonna have to come see me.
Right. But look, Deion Sanders went to Jackson State, and it put Jackson State.
I knew he was gonna go there. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go there with it because why? Why did Jackson State be on the map? Jackson State was a great school. It's still a great school. Have a great football program, right?
Right.
Prime time showed up, and what happened? Right? Publicity. He came with a status, came with a name. And that's what people were looking at, right? So so that 5-star recruit that he got to come from Florida, I think it was, came there because he was like, prime time's there, right? Matter of fact, he transferred to Colorado. He said, I'm gonna go where my coach is at, right?
Right.
But Prime brought a certain status. He brings certain things that come along with him. He is not an average coach. So you got to look at these schools in the same way. I mean, it is what it is, right? There's no knock on TSU. But TSU ain't Michigan. No matter how you want to slice it, TSU ain't Michigan. TSU is a great school. And it's an amazing school. I love TSU. But TSU is not Michigan. TSU is not Georgetown. TSU is not Ohio State. And that's when it comes to certain things, that if you, unless you, like you said, the endowment does matter, because the endowment brings in the resources, brings in technology. Then we're talking about the facilities. The facilities are different. The medical staff is different. I'm telling you, this stuff, the nutrition is different. This a kid was talking about when he went to a different school, and then you go to these Big Ten and SEC schools. Man, they have the top of the line medical that they have access to. It does matter. It's not fair. It is what it is. It's not fair, but it does matter.
It's not. But again, if you just told me athletics is the number one revenue source of a university,
Mm-hmm.
and if we dive one subcategory lower, we can say basketball and football,
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you go one subcategory lower than that, and you say, let's put a number, a percentage out there. Let's say 60% of either sport is predominantly black.
Absolutely.
Yeah, proud of that.
Mm-hmm. Then there's an issue. The endowment isn't the endowment because of just it has money. It has money because it's using a product that they continue to been using since, let's just say, 61.
Right.
To make more money.
But watch this though.
To make more money.
To make more money. Okay.
Hold on. So 61. So all we've been doing since 61 is doing what? Creating more revenue and more divide and less inclusion and any other thing you could think of based on affirmative action. That's purely my
same point. Kids. So
purely
the same athletes you talk about. You're right, Nate.
What?
You're right, Quan. I'm looking at Nate. My bad. I'm looking at Nate comments in here. But Quan, you're absolutely right, man. Because I agree with you. But it comes. Here's the reality. Them same kids got a better chance going to NFL if they go to Michigan. Ohio State.
That's bullshit.
They do have a better. I'm just being honest with you.
But because a lot of those
right,
great players don't
if you think I'm lying,
play, bro.
Okay, watch this. Give me the first, second, third round of NFL draft. What are the top recruits? What schools they went to?
I get what you're trying to say, Chee, but what I'm telling you is if I took every black player off of Michigan's team and put them on TSU, then played Michigan, who's gonna win?
I completely agree with you.
So that's my point. We're the product, and we're steadily being used as product. And
we're not given the resources. We don't have the endowment over there.
What you mean? It doesn't. All you need is if we're the product.
Right.
All you need is the product.
That's not all you need. You just need the product over here.
We have enough mother effers that went to Harvard. We have enough mothers that went to motherfucking Brown and all these other places. Take your monkey butts back over to where we're at, and then it becomes an even playing field.
They're not given the same talent and same mindset. If you're saying the education, right? The same kid out of Harvard, the same kid out of Yale, Cornell, the same black kid, or those black students that you say, okay, you know what? Take your skills and go to TSU. Take your skills and go to this medical school over here. Yeah. You know what the difference is?
What?
They're not going to excel as much because they don't have the resources and the endowment over there. So they may have the talent, they may have the skill set, they may have the mind. They don't have the resources.
They don't have the white money.
They ain't got the white money. And that's the problem. So you over here,
that's
the fact.
The system is designed for you never to win, no matter what you do.
Right.
What you're saying.
But it's designed. But what I'm saying is, it gives you the same kid go to Michigan, got a better chance of being a first round pick and make millions of dollars.
And what does he do with the $1 million? What does he do with the $1 million?
I mean, we could debate what he's supposed to do, what he does, but he has a better access. You have to understand these kids that look at their plan. And when you look at a plan, they look at it, okay, if I had to go to Ohio State that I see on ESPN or Alabama or some of these other schools versus if I go, even U of H is a great school. They're on TV. What I'm saying to you is when you look at the totality, you know what kids say? I want to go two things athletes look at. You look at any one of these kids. They want to look at playing time and they want to look at exposure.
Okay.
Those are the two things they want.
Okay. So if you look at playing time, then why in the world would you go to Alabama?
Well, because you know why? Because even a second string, if you're playing backup second string, you still, that's how they look at it. I'm at University of Alabama.
But
that's how they look at it.
But I
could get on the field and I'm still playing. I'm still on ESPN.
that second string, that third
Right,
string.
but the second string with exposure. But then how many games of TSU on ESPN? That's what I'm saying to you. That's how the system works. The top programs get the best athletes for the most part. Do you have other schools where you have bona fide athletes? It's like we know that. We know there's a certain schools at TSU, Savannah State. They're legends who came out of different HBCUs. They're one in a million.
It's like Nate said. Nate said it. Yeah, Mike Strahan went to TSU.
Yeah, Michael Strahan went to TSU. How many of the first round picks in how many went to Michigan, Ohio State? How many went to TSU?
How many with that talent went to those schools though?
But you're making my point. Why would they not go over there?
What I'm saying, you're not understanding what I'm saying. You can choose where you go, bro.
Exactly.
You can choose where you go. So if you decide to go to another school, let's take it like this here. Fab Five, they went to Michigan, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that started by a couple of them getting together and saying, "Hey man, now let's go to this school. Let's go over here. You're gonna get two kids from Texas, one from Chicago, the other two from Michigan. That created the Fab Five. Now think about it. If they would have got together and say, "Hey, we gonna go to this school way over here," you think they wouldn't have been as great?
They wouldn't have. They probably wouldn't have been as visible.
As visibly, they probably would have been great, but it would have been a great HBCU Division III college university basketball team. They would have won multiple championships on that level.
That at some point, somebody would have had to take notice of.
But that's my point. They gotta wish somebody take notice in your Division III versus I can sit on the bench on Division I, and guess what? The bottom line is there are people in the NBA right now sitting on the bench making millions of dollars, don't even play because they have access. What schools they go to? This stuff matters. It ain't fair, but it's real. And what we can't do is sit back and say, you know what, I'm with you. We need to have, I'm with you, Quan, I'm with you, Chris. And I'm 100% because I'm all for Black excellence. I think we need to have a lot of things. That's a whole nother show, but we need to have our own banks, our own businesses, our own, if we, like you said, Quan, we'll take all that talent away from these universities and put them over here, right? Man, we'll run things. It'll be amazing. It'll be dominant. Man, but you got to have the endowment back in that. You got to have the money to have that. And the money just ain't there.
I mean, like we said, man, there's a reason why, we got that one sport that they cut out kids coming straight out of high school going into, but they ain't stopped that other one.
So we got to have somebody infiltrate.
The other one from doing
it. We got to have like what Deion Sanders did at Jackson State is what we really need to have at Michigan, Ohio State. You need to have somebody that has a pipeline that could take the kids from HBCUs and say, you know what, man, I'm going to recruit this. Because that's what he says he's going to be doing at Colorado. He said, okay, man, you know what? I could use this pipeline from HBCUs to funnel kids to come to Colorado or to come to this school or to go to this school who may not have an opportunity, but they got the skill set. That's how you got to infiltrate this thing. You got to have somebody like on that kind of blueprint where you can infiltrate these schools and bring in kids. The same education system has to be in place. You got to have somebody that's going to go to Harvard, Yale, Cornell, one of them university presidents or somebody got to come from that and say, you know what? We're not just taking the kid that came out of the top school in Pennsylvania. I want this kid out of TSU over here. I want this kid out of South Side of Houston because he's smart, he's intelligent, he give me diversity because he got some street in him. Okay, I like the little balance.
So what about those teachers coming from Harvard, Yale, or whatever, and coming teaching at these other schools? What's wrong with that?
Right, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with them doing
but
it.
Is it going to be a thing about the endowment or the resource or the money or whatever that is? A lot
of it is money. Look, people work for money. I mean, if they offer more money at their school, more than likely they'll probably go. But majority of the top districts got the money. They paid the most money. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they just do. I mean, like y'all, we know how life goes. It's not perfect. It ain't right. I'm 100% with you, but it's real. And the system is real. It's jacked up. It's flawed. It needs to change. But you can't make any changes coming outside because all they're going to do is crush you. You have to infiltrate it and change it from the inside. If you come from the outside, all they're going to do is move the goalposts. Oh, you want to do that? They do the elections every year. They got a Republican, Democratic, and an independent. The independent never win. Why? All they do is crush him or her. You got to get in. You got to be a Democrat or Republican so that you can be a crazy politician, come in and change the system. No different in the school.
So join one gang or the other.
Bro, see, yeah, I hear what you're saying, Chee, but you know what I'm saying, clearly we see it differently, you know what I'm saying? You can't, like I said, you can't, I don't care what puppet you put in a system that's designed to roll, no matter what puppet is in the system. You know what I mean? Barack Obama wasn't going to do anything different than what Trump did. It's the same thing.
Now, let me tell you something. Barack Obama, the first term, I completely saw where he was trying to do all this stuff. His second term, you guys, anybody, I love Barack Obama. I love him. Yeah. Second term, he should have been like Trump. I would have wrote all kind of executive orders.
It's the same thing.
It's trying. It doesn't matter if you put Barack Obama in there. If I put you in office, you could just say all you want to. You're gonna come out the same way they did.
You still gonna have to do whatever them people vote for.
Let me tell you something. For all the stuff we talk about Donald Trump, I don't like Trump. But say what you want about that dude. Do you know what a lot of people follow this cat? A lot of people that even people that don't like him. That dude did. I'm gonna give you the secret of what he did that all the other presidents missed. This dude went in there and said, "You know what? I'm gonna write this executive order. Yes, it's crazy. Yes, it's stupid. Yeah, I don't think it could possibly work. But y'all figure that out." So what he did, he put it back on Congress. He said, "It's on y'all now. I wrote the executive order. Y'all pass it." They didn't pass it. You know what he went back and said? I kept my promise, didn't I? I told y'all I was going to do this. I told y'all I was going to do that. And that's all he did for 4 years. And these people locked in. They're like, you know what? I don't really care too much for this dude. But at least as crazy as that fool was, he said everything. He said, I don't like to pay no taxes. I ain't trying to do this stuff. He said things that we all thought about, not us, talking about us, but his followers. And that's all. He wasn't a politician like that. And I'm saying that's how you infiltrated.
No,
that's why he was different.
He had endowment.
He got endowment, but he was real with it. Like this dude said,
because he had endowment. He had
endowment, but what he did was he broke the mold when he went into the office. Did he do politics? Absolutely, politician 101. Right. But his technique was different, and his delivery was different.
When was that done before?
That's a good question. When you show me another president
didn't do any kind of politics ever. You didn't do anything. You wasn't a mayor, you wasn't a governor, or nothing.
Right.
And you get into the White House.
Right. And he did exactly what all of us talked about. What we talk about here, any everyday average American knows how most people live day to day, check to check, know how to get up, how to make things happen. We can go in there and say, you know what? Can't nobody live for no $7.50 an hour. We're gonna raise minimum wage. We're gonna, reduce childcare, reduce that. All that stuff we can do. But they take politicians in there. Trump went in there and was trying to do something different. Now, could he do it? And he was doing all kind of stuff, and he had all kind of racism and all stuff. I ain't talking about that part. What I'm saying is, when we're talking about affirmative action, when we're talking about all these different things in place, infiltration. He's a good example of what I'm talking about. Infiltration.
I was about to say, do you think Trump got in on affirmative action?
If a prime candidate to infiltrate the system and mix it all the way up, Donald Trump is an example. But I'm telling you, you got to get somebody in there that's crazy, that is out of the box, and that's going to rattle this thing. And he did. He just didn't benefit. It didn't benefit nobody. He was just kind of out of whack.
Trump is Trump. He's always been who he's always.
Right, he always is who he is. That's my point.
Trump just wanted to come in and show you that you could put a monkey in office and the system is going to do the same. That's my point. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But what if you put in? But that's what I'm saying. You put a baboon in there and change it up. But what if you put somebody in that's you ain't got to be a baboon? Let's say you halfway decent, average American person. You think that won't work?
The system is designed to do what it's going to do. So I ask you this question, Chief, because you said it. If you go from the outside, they're going to crush you. When has somebody ever gone from the outside and got crushed? When have we as a black people say, you know what, enough of this? We done with this system.
What are your alternative?
Huh?
let's say you're done with the system. Like, you know what? I'm going outside by some. I'm done with this. Like, how do you put that in play?
So I'll answer by posing this question back to you. What if they never got rid of segregation? What if there was no Brown versus the board
education, right?
Yeah. What if there was no affirmative action? You see where we are now today,
right?
You visually.
I know exactly where you're going with that. I totally agree with you.
So here's the thing. It kind of go back to what we were saying before. The laws are not written for us. That's why things can be done to us and people get away with it.
Right.
Now we were segregated. We had Tulsa, we had Rosewood, we had all these different places. What happened to those places? What happened to them?
Exactly.
They got eradicated. They got burnt to the ground.
No.
They got
Black Wall Street.
Yeah, but not even. But yeah, that's on the extreme end of certain things.
No, what I'm saying is they were done like they were done because the laws wasn't for us.
And you're validating my point. Even if you go outside and you try to do what you're talking about, they'll crush it.
But that don't mean I ain't gonna try.
They've always crushed it.
That don't mean I'm not gonna try.
Yeah, but we as much as you say they crushed it by burning down it, we crushed it as well. Because what do? We left our communities and say, hey, we want to be a part of your communities. Your communities look better over here, and this is what we want to be a part of.
But that's what I'm saying. The reason why they did that, Quan, is not because they wanted to. It's because when you get your stuff, slavery, it wasn't just slavery. If you look at the historical context of it, whenever black people try to build something, they always move the goalpost to shut it down or break it down. And people got tired. And they said, you know what? Some people say, you know what? I want to go over to, if that's your system, man, you know what? They broke a lot of people's spirit to go into the system. Now, how you do that is you got to flip it onto that. You got to say, okay, you know what, man? I'm going to go into your system, but I don't think the way you think. I don't act the way you act. I don't do the things you do. And if you go in there and you go and you recruit within that system, you got other black people, other kids, other situations, say, you know what, man, you know what? I don't like this history class, man. No, we didn't do something at Harvard. Let's start a different agenda on Harvard. Let's have a black coalition newspaper at Harvard. Let's do this. Guess what? Now, all of a sudden, if they got opposition, they can go public with it. What's wrong with us having this? What's wrong with acknowledging Native Americans? You got to go into their system and infiltrate it. If you don't do that, and you try to do it outside, like you say, Rosewood, Black Wall Street, they're going to just crush it to the point where people are going to be like, you know what, man, it ain't worth rebuilding it. People don't want to build again when they get crushed. So it's easier for somebody to go over here now. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to say, you know what, man, I'm tired. You know what I'm saying, man? I done built this thing. I built this store. I built this foundation over here, and now in a snap of a finger, they just take it. What do you do then?
It's like that when you don't get any kind of justice for whatever was done to you.
Right.
That's
what we're fighting for. We don't get justice.
But at the same time, we can get that particular law, whatever, put in place, and still don't get justice.
Who do you think make the laws? Who they make
the
laws?
That's what we're saying.
That's what I'm saying to you. The people that make the laws is crushing you. That's why we're in the same situation now. They're gonna crush you anyway. So you got to get in there and become mayor, become governor, work their system, and change their laws. That's the only way you're gonna change it. You can't come from the outside and do it.
When has that been done? When has it been done?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I don't know that. I don't know anybody that has the problem. That's my problem. Like, when do we have a real politician go in here that is from the south side of Chicago, from the street, you got to be somewhere like that. Just somebody to go in and say, you know what, man, look, that ain't right.
There's been hundreds of them. There's been hundreds of South Side of Chicago politicians.
And you know what they're doing? They get up in there, and the same people, they get up in the system. Mm-hmm. What do?
What do they do?
Their money, endowment, politics, all of that plays a role, and they forget what they're in there for. And they don't want to lose I
don't believe that. I don't believe that.
They want to serve more than one term. You get to a certain level in there, I'm telling you what happens. You get in that certain level, they start changing up some stuff because they want to stay attorney general, or they want to stay mayor, or they want to stay governor. You know the people that back these people? They put them in a corner and they say, you know what, if you want to be governor, you got to do this, or this. They all go with good intentions. You think from all the dudes from Southside Chicago don't go in there with a good intention to change their community?
Man, look, certain folks,
They don't do it.
certain people they're not gonna let in there because they know they can't break them.
Boom. They don't let you in.
Yeah.
So if you infiltrate, infiltration means it's manipulation. You got to understand how to work the system. So we never do that. We try to come from the outside, they're gonna crush you. The only way to do it is to infiltrate that system, get in there, and then have somebody in there that can mix this thing up a little bit. That's the only way. That's the only way I see it. Now, if you got a better way, I'm with you because I'm all about building our own. It's just it get crushed every time. Black people need to realize that we are the 1%. We are dominant in all these fields. If we Black people would stop buying things, stop, we saw how the vote went. As soon as Black people, we have more power than we know of. We never utilize it. And the problem is the small amount of people that says, okay, you know what? We're powerful enough to do it. It's 100 more that will shut that down and be like, no, we're not. We're not united enough to do it. We're just not.
Right. Well, united only comes when you have a commonality amongst a group of people. You know what I'm saying? Commonality amongst quote unquote Black people is that we don't know who we are. If we knew who we are, I think we wouldn't be sitting talking about a lot of the stuff that we talking about. You know what I mean?
If we all came together, imagine a bunch of us, like millions of people think like we all think right now, and we had enough power to go do something. You think that would make a difference? Man, we flipped this whole thing upside down. This is a capital country.
I said something common like, okay, Juneteenth, let's not go to work.
Guess what happened? Let all Black people get to that place. The problem is we not.
You know what I mean? No, that means a lot of people went to work. They got bills. That's like
bills.
If I go over there, they're gonna trip. If I don't go to work, they're gonna trip. But no,
I'll get fired.
You had there was a blueprint that was put out there. The Montgomery boycott, the bus boycott. It worked, but here's the problem. What should have continued after that is I'm still not gonna ride this here bus.
We didn't have our own bus company. Well, they should have our own bus company, right?
But
Black people should have came together and say, you know what, we only riding this bus company over here.
So what Quan was saying is facts. Okay, once I decide I'm not going to, you know what, I'm gonna make you sit here and think that all I want is inclusion. Nah, what I want is for your stuff to fail, mine to prosper. I want all of you, everything that you've been doing towards me, I want all of that to fail, man. And I want to start building something of my own over here.
Yeah, but
once again, the issue is always going to be if we aren't the people writing the laws.
It wasn't the Montgomery bus movement.
Things are going to be starting to come against us in the first place.
Yeah, but from a historical context, people got to understand the Montgomery bus movement was over like a year and a half or something like that.
Yeah,
it was a long period of time, and that's the problem. We don't have longevity in the game, and you may have some people start it. We don't have enough people to elongate it.
Yeah, it's not.
So it's not going to happen. We don't have enough skin in the game. Enough people.
We don't have a lot of people that's going to actually play this long game.
Exactly. So that's my point.
You know what I mean? And that's always been an issue. You know what I mean?
That's my point. So until you get that, but it's never going to change.
Is that, and once again, is that we don't come together to do a lot of things.
We don't. We're not.
If it ain't entertaining, we don't come together for that. We don't come together for things like that.
It's just that I think we realize the power in numbers. There's enough people to think like the way we think that could come together and say, you know what, man, look, let's make something happen. But the problem is, it's easier to.
The problem is we don't all think the same though.
A lot of us are like-minded. We don't all think the same, but I think we can all say different things, and we all come together collectively. Because your experience, I can meet a black person out here, and their experience is similar to mine, and we come from totally different backgrounds.
But it's the same. It's the same thing that we said the last time we were together, and I said that back then. Okay, so if King and X would have came together earlier, what would have happened?
Right.
Why does it take someone getting kicked out of a community, this other one they getting assassinated a couple of times before you start sitting there and you sit back and have a conversation like, man, you know what? We're trying to get the same place. We're trying to get to the same area. We're trying to. All right. Well, tell you what. Why don't we get together and let's talk about this and let's figure out this way for us as a people to push forward and get this thing done instead of somebody having to be the top dog all the time.
Again, so the point to that is that I don't think it was about being the top dog. I think it was two black men having two different ideas of getting to that area of let's just say the mountaintop. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? One wanted to assimilate, the other said, "I don't want to assimilate." You know what I mean? So that's my point. So it's almost like me and Chee talking right now. She is saying we need to put somebody in office to change. I'm saying no, we don't need to put anybody in office to change. Why? Because now we have factual evidence to show that the system will go the way the system is designed to go, no matter who you do what with. I can understand Martin and King maybe not seeing it eye to eye in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't really know. There's no evidence. There's no factual proof to show which would work and which wouldn't.
Right.
In 2023. 60 something 2 years later now, it shows that it doesn't work the way that Martin originally thought about how it didn't work. All of that civil rights movement, all again, Brown versus the board, affirmative action, all of that stuff didn't do anything but hinder us as a people.
Okay, so
because as a people, the number one thing you have to have is respect. And we lack respect across the board, period. We were disrespected in this country. You know what I'm saying? Brought over here
in other countries,
and we not respected amongst the majority, which is of what you say, quote unquote, minority in this country. If we really understood who we are and we looked at it from a broader spectrum instead of this defined binocular view that we kind of use, it's like we're not the minority. This world, we're not the minority in the world. We're the majority in the world. You know what I'm saying? But yet we fight in a sense of, binocular vision, like this, you know what I'm saying? Dealing with these issues that we are faced with in the United States.
You're absolutely right. I can't even disagree with you on that. I completely agree with you. My
point to you, or to answer the question, if affirmative action wasn't the answer, what truly is the answer today is to say, for Black people to say, hey, you know what? If again, I use this analogy and I use it a lot. I always say this shit. You know what I'm saying? If I have a group of polar bears right here and I'm a grizzly bear, I don't have to go over here and act like a polar bear. You know what I'm saying? If I'm a grizzly bear, it doesn't work that way. You know what I'm saying? If white people and Black people are two different people, we're never going to be able to get it right trying to be like them. We're not them. You know what I'm saying? For one, we never enslaved white people and treated them in such a demeaning manner, you know what I'm saying? And then created a system that benefited us first and foremost for almost a century, 400 years plus. And then once we had to say, oh, whoa, hey, my bad, we you know what I'm saying, we benefited from it, you know what I'm saying? People are looking at it. Now we're gonna sit back and say, hey, what, we need to write some laws. You know what I'm saying? Laws that they didn't even abide by. We're talking about a lawless group of people, treacherous, the most horrific things of acts that have ever been done to human beings. Nick, we were so-called 3/5 human. We were looked at as cattle, bro. Why would I ever want to go into your system and say, hey, you know what? I need to become a lawyer to change your law so that way we didn't be able. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Okay, and everything you're saying is 1,000% correct.
Hold on. So my answer to that is that Black people need to wake up and figure out what it is to be a so-called quote unquote Black person or a brown-skinned brother, and what do we desire and need to make us who we need to be.
Okay. And I agree with you on that. Has that been done before? Have Black people set up? So Black Wall Street was not an example of Black empowerment when it comes to economics, to business, right? That was the whole purpose, that we had our own stores, we had our own banks, we had our own work. I mean, we had our own. And what happened when we were being profitable? we were had on because white folks, like you're right, they're savages. They didn't want us, right? They want to serve us. They want to sell to us. Black people were the most skilled workers at that time period because we did everything. What happened? That's what I'm saying to you. What happened when we come together and we decided to do those things?
You saying when we come together? That wasn't we came together. That was a group of people in Tulsa, Oklahoma that was living there that tried. It got burned down. It got burned down.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that blueprint. What is that? That's what I'm saying to you. That blueprint of happening in Tulsa happens every single year in every single community, in every single. And Black people deal with that every day at their job because every time we try to go here, guess what? That same system you say infiltration, that same system we have our own, and they savages and they beasts and they animals, and we shouldn't do nothing with them. Guess what? They pay people's paychecks. They have these corporations. They have these buildings. And the same Black people are going to go to work every day. They're going to go to the same folks' jobs because they got the money and they got the resources. Is it right? No, it's not. And I'm with you. If we had another way, if you had another way, that would be great. If we had another outlet, that would be great. But we don't.
But you keep saying we don't, but you're saying the other way. The other way is to see that, realize that the way that we tried, it doesn't work. It hasn't worked. And if we continue to try, it still won't work.
Okay,
by the time
again, how do you branch your everything you're saying makes sense, Quan? But
yep.
How do you do that? Has been tried. Every time Black people do think the way you think we all don't think that? Bro. Most people think the way you think. Man, I don't want to deal with this. I want to do this. Guess what? They don't give away Black loans. Black businesses. You know what? Black businesses, bro.
When did Tulsa, Oklahoma get burned down? What year was that? When was that?
1921.
Okay, watch this. I ain't got to go 1921. Let's go now. How many Black loans for a business do get approved?
You said, okay, so I'll answer that. How many Black banks do we have?
Right, exactly. That's exactly my point. We don't.
But my point is that's still affirmative action. That's Black people saying I need to be a part of your bank and bank with you, motherfuckers. Because then don't get loans.
It's not, Quan.
It don't work.
Quan, Black people want to have their own bank.
Are you kidding me? Black people, America. Listen, man. Any bank that you talk about is of white descent. That's
right. Yeah. But what I'm saying to you is just like you're thinking. Do you not think Black people are coming? Do you not? There's a group of Black people that says, you know what? I want to go get this bank. Do you know the process? The process is not going to let them get that bank.
See,
the process is going to tell them, you know what? They're not going to get that bank.
There are Black-owned banks.
There are some Black-owned banks, but what's the endowment on that? Where are they going? How are they going to compete with Bank of America or Wells Fargo or what's the Chase? Whatever these other banks.
The way that they can compete is by other Black people going and investing into that company.
Right. That would be great. That's what I'm trying. Everything you say makes sense. But they're not doing that.
It's just like a Black restaurant.
And the reason why they're not doing that, because the number one thing, which is fear. That's all. Yeah. All that is fear driven. It's just fear driven, bro.
Right. But I'm with you on that. It is fear driven, but it's real.
But it's not real. But it's not real. It's not. It's not a fear. So you mean to tell me? So you mean to tell me right now, Chee? If I said, you know what? If I took, let's take Houston. Bump it. Take Houston, right? So TSU sits in third ward, right? Third ward looks well. They put in. They're
coming up.
They're
building up around it or whatever. But third ward has been third ward since it's been there. You know what I mean? Since Black people been there, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay, so let me say, just do it on we'll just do education to livelihood, and then so how do we create laws? Again, Chrissy just asked, so how do we create the laws that now protect us? The laws never protected us, and it's not about creating laws. It's not about creating laws. Laws ain't gonna work. It's laws, politics, and all of that crap that people so-called say that they want to vote on us. It has nothing to do with anything. Because why? Money rules that game. The game is money. The game is money. If you believe that money is real, then you believe in everything that goes on and why it goes. That's the reason. That's the main reason why this works. Because you believe that money, you need money.
Right. But what I'm saying to you,
you need the dollar.
Right, but fear is real, Quan. The reason why it hasn't worked is because it's fear. People that the same person sitting there and say, you know what, I agree with you, will get up tomorrow morning, set their alarm clock, and go to that white job. That's gonna pay them $50,000, $60,000, or $70,000 a year. Because they got food they got to put on the table. They got families that they got to feed. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because they would love to do what you do. They would love to say, I'm with you. I'm 1,000% with you. But fear is real. And people fear the unknown. They don't want to leave over here unless they want certain this thing over here. We do it all the time with jobs. We do it all the time with situations. We don't just leave on the radicalism of, you know what, man, we really need to have our own. And I'm 100% with you. They don't do it.
It's all unknown because we don't know if that job is going to make it, regardless of white, black, whatever job it is. But the issue is just you used to what you used to, and you trust what you trust, and you think that over there is better than what I can do over here. That's just what it is.
But for you to leave that,
let's put it on a restaurant. Let's put it on restaurants. A lot of times, certain restaurants won't think that they made it until that other race come over there, and they start eating over there. You know what I'm saying? It's weird like that, but it's a conditioning thing. You know, your mind has been conditioned to do these certain things. Right. What's wrong? You got some bad shoes on?
I think I'm a J's. My feet was getting hot because I was getting sick.
That's because you need your own shoe. You need to start your own
Eco kicks.
Had a hot foot, man. I was getting hot foot. I got a hot foot in here, man.
You're stupid.
We have to break up the tension around the joint, man.
What I'm saying is that with y'all wild, but we can be on. Man, we're gonna do a part 2 to this. Because we're gonna do a part 2 to this, because
Nate they're having their own conversation.
But what I'm saying is that everything what you're saying makes sense. But at the end of the day, man, even after we can get off these calls, we can talk to people about this thing, but people got to get up and go to the same savages. They got to deal with these same folks at these jobs. And until we have something on this side over here that can compete with that, people are not going to feel safe enough to say, you know what, I'm going to give up. Because people deal with bad situations. And we and human nature, like there people we do with relationships, right? We do with situations where it's like, okay, I'll tolerate this thing because it pays me this, and I got to worry about my kids, or it pays my car note or my house, or whatever your situation is. So your livelihood comes first and foremost. And if you go explain that to your wife, explain the situation, baby, we're going to this bank over here, or baby, we're going to start this thing over here. Unless you have an endowment, enough bread to come together and say, you know what, man, we can filter this thing, we can funnel this thing, we can do some stuff, then it's going to be hard to actually do it because you got to find the right people. Can it be done? I believe it can be done because in my personal belief, enough people think the way that, because I agree with everything you're saying. I'm just saying that the reality of it is that's not what people are doing. I agree with what you're saying, right? We should have our own. We shouldn't even be part of some of this stuff. But what's the alternative right now, right? A lot of people that are going to go to work every day, they're going to deal with certain situations that's where they at. And they're not going to leave. There are people stay at a job for years, getting taken full advantage of. Why? Because like you said, they're conditioned in their mind. Mm-hmm. But they will leave under the right circumstances, right? Somebody will leave a job and say, you know what, man, I don't mind going over here. Okay, they pay me how much? You pay me $60,000 over here? Okay, I'm paying $60. I might get $65 right now.
It's always a circumstance. It's always that.
Right,
it's always that.
But it can be, but you can't, there's a way to do it. I'm telling you. The way to do it, I agree with your system. We do our own thing. But this system is just so dependent on one thing connecting to something else. So if you want to open up this business over here, you got to get a loan over here. You got to get the money from this one, or you got to raise the money capital over here. And even if you were in your own business over here, the tax laws, you got to deal with this. It's so many things that's interconnected with the system. It's very hard to separate it and start your thing for us to do our own thing like that.
Can I ask y'all something? And it's not necessarily off the subject, but with, and I know it's gonna go. It's not a dumb question, but so with Tyler Perry getting what? BET and VH1, right?
VH1.
He got both of them, right?
Yep.
So, do you think that he would actually revert back to some of the things that were on there when we were younger, like a teen summit, like all those different things that were actually trying to empower us, teach us a little bit more, just not just put on a lot of this crap that's on these networks nowadays,
Right.
whereas it's making us really, really look ignorant, to actually go back to the era of actually teaching our young kids something about themselves.
Can I answer that one?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Quan.
So it's a two-part question response to that. So tell me, give me one example of Tyler Perry ever creating something of context that was
of substance.
Of black substance, right? Okay, and then two, who did he buy BT from, and whatever else was with that package? Who owned BT before that?
White folk, yeah.
But right, I think we listen.
No,
I don't want to use I don't want to lose the cultural concept of what he's doing. One thing I could talk about that I love what Tyler Perry's doing is that he is at least giving a platform for us to at least be on the forefront with some stuff.
How?
I'm not against that. I'm not saying that.
When I watch Tyler Perry, what I'm saying is when I watch Tyler Perry shows or movies and stuff like that, he has black people, right? And some of it comedy. He has different dramas. He bought he created his own studio, right? So what I'm saying is that he's taking everything we're talking about. He's doing it strategically. To me, I think he's doing it strategically enough to where it's not. He's infiltrating it in a way to where, and I'm glad you brought him up because I think that's a good example where he keeps it like, okay, this is all comedy, but look what he went and did. Okay, I went and took BET from him. I took VH1 from him. Right now, I could put back all the black. Now I can put black shows on here. I can do a few things over because I own this network. You get what I'm saying?
I understand what I'm saying. So the reason why, because I mean, there's black shows is on there, but what I'm talking about is showing. It's going back to what it was before when. I mean, it was actually showing us in a better light than what a lot of this stuff is showing nowadays.
You talking about when it was black owned?
Yeah, that. Yeah.
It was black owned.
Is it going to go back?
A black man has seen black people needed to be seen in a light other than what what I'm saying. That
exactly.
wasn't
right. That's my point.
So, my point to you is that Tyler, if you think Tyler Perry is the man to do that, you're mistakenly wrong.
I think he is the man to do that.
Why?
The reason why I think Tyler Perry is the man to do that is because Tyler Perry is a nice bridge and balance between what the system is that he worked in to get to where he's at, and a bridge to where black people are looked upon a certain way based on the content that he's putting out. So he has a lot of pull where he could get some Hollywood people. At the same time, he's working in the communities to kind of bring it. So he's like a good bridge. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got white folks over here who is part of this system over here who's saying, you know what, man, Tyler Perry is one of us. But then over here with black people, he was saying, okay, you know what, man, hey, I got BET, I'm working. So he's working the system, and I think he's a good enough person where he don't fight Peter to pay Paul kind of thing, right? He's not gonna ruffle the feathers over here, but he on the low, he dominate. You know what I'm saying?
You think he's gonna get rid of Love and Hip Hop?
I don't know. I guess I don't know.
It's
but
trash, man.
It may be trash, but guess what? It's some demographics, and the fact that he owns it.
What I'm saying, this is what I'm get what I'm saying, man.
Let me ask you this: do you think they would have sold it to him? Let me ask you this: do you think they would have sold that? Do you think BET? Nobody else ever thought about buying BET or VH1?
Yeah, of course they thought about buying it.
Okay. So because we know white people owned it, So who do you think they would have sold it to? Who better that you could think of when you look at the industry, look at what they're trying to do? Who are better in the black person that we could think of that when you bridge both sides of Hollywood, the community and things like that, give me somebody that with the money, right? That I wouldn't even do with Oprah. I wouldn't even let Oprah do that. I don't think she could do it. I think he is the person.
Oprah had on.
Right, Oprah had her own, but that was dominated by somebody on the top. That's why even though she had her own show and own production, she was controlled by the top. Tyler Perry opened his own studio, so he don't have to deal with Hollywood. Same thing with Quan was saying. When you try to do your own, he could write his own movies. He had his own capital. He utilized his own system to do things. And I like what he's doing because the way he's doing it, I think is the way that can really break a lot of barriers. Because he went and why would they sell it to him versus somebody else? Tell me somebody else that you think that could bridge better.
You can give everybody jobs and everything, man, but still be portrayed in a bad light, though.
I mean,
everybody got you can give all the black people all the jobs and everything like that, man, but still come across as showing us not in a good light. What I'm saying is when especially men, let's be 100, man.
Okay, but let's be 100. Like Tyler Perry. Okay, hold on a second. Tyler Perry has a lot of good shows that he puts in. He had a lot of good movies that portray. He was talking about. In a Diary of a Black Woman. I mean, he was talking about abuse and talking about the black communities and some of the stuff we deal with in our. I mean, he has a lot of good movies and stuff he put out here that portray issues that we've dealt with, and he's made a lot of money doing it. So it ain't just he played good both sides of that, and it was great. That's why he's been on the map. I mean, I watched Acrimony. I watched a lot of good Tyler Perry movies, and I'll be honest with you, had Fox or what's that one, the Lionheart or whatever had they put that same movie together, they probably would have made more money. But because Tyler Perry didn't go that route, he went his own route. He's doing his own thing. He's an example to me of what Quan was talking about. You want somebody that could come in and try to infiltrate the system, do his own thing. Hey, he came from Hollywood. He came from Hollywood. And he had his own studio.
Nate.
What? Nate going off in the comments.
Light-skinned men as saviors, and oh my God.
Thank you.
This guy here, bro. That was not the issue, bro. We're talking about the fact that he owns. No. Nate be wilding, bro. Nate be on a whole nother level. We're talking about an opportunity, and he's talking about he's not using Goldie Hawn. He's not using a lot of white actresses and white actors in a lot of his shows and plays. He's giving black people the opportunity.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is now that he has BET, will some of those things of substance come back? Will those things be brought back?
But those
things. Okay.
Well, I don't see why. I mean, I don't see why he has not given me any reason to say it couldn't come back. I mean, he's made a lot of good shows and good movies and things like that. So
I don't know about the good shows.
It's opinion based. I see that's the issue.
He's made Tyler Perry's made a plethora of different movies and stuff. It ain't all been Medea. He's done a lot more than just Medea.
There's a lot of black people that like what Tyler Perry puts out. Then there's a lot of black people that are really disgusted by what Tyler Perry puts out.
Right.
I think me and Nate on the disgusted part of what he puts out because it isn't really of substance. It's very, very cliche. He's a one-trick pony. My thing with Tyler Perry is that to answer your question, Chris, to say is BET ever going to get back to its formative days? And to answer Nate real quick, BET was owned by Robert L. whatever his last name,
Johnson,
a black man. You know what I mean? Who bought it or designed it or created it off of a loan he got from a white guy, but eventually paid the loan back. It was his inception. BET. You told me to Google it, I Googled it. But to say to get back to that, no, because what Tyler Perry is, he is more of a same cog in this design for the system. You know what I mean? My thing to you is Tyler Perry has created all of these different movies and shows, right? You know what I mean? And you say he gives opportunity to black people. Yeah, he gives opportunity to black people to be in front of, you know what I'm saying, in front of the camera, you know, to be behind the camera, to be in the studios, working all of these different things, you know what I'm saying? But tell me how many black people have actually wrote the content of which came out of Tyler Perry stuff?
Okay, I mean, listen.
That's a valid question.
How many people?
I'm going to answer, but here's the deal. I don't know how many black people have written the content, but that's like picking. But if you want to pick that, if that's the issue, if that's the complaint, and we talk Tyler Perry that the writers may not be black, but he owns a black network, 2 black networks. He puts to everything else you just said. Ain't no such thing. We're not gonna have it all in one sequence.
No,
but
it's not about.
Like, okay,
that's the only thing that matters. If the question was that Chris posed was, will BT ever start putting back out formidable material of black conscious state? That you know what I'm saying?
We can't say he's not gonna do that. We don't.
When has he ever did it?
No.
That's why I asked the question. I asked the question like,
I don't know.
Do you think? You don't know. Quan says no.
Says no. I don't know. I can't say. I'm not gonna say no. I mean, he bought. I mean, I think Tyler Perry is an astute businessman, and I think he's smart enough to know that. I think he bought BET because you know what BET used to be like.
I think Tyler Perry is a control freak. That's what he is. He's a control freak. That's what he is. That's why he bought BET.
He got it. He got his money and everything doing the thing that he does. So him being a control freak, like you said, he did a lot. He writes, bro. He write all that stuff. That's why, they got so many episodes because they don't take time off.
But I think
he's steady writing and directing and doing the same thing.
I think
all I'm saying is, I would hope that he brings back some of those things that started us watching in the first place.
Okay, but I think what we need to do here. I mean, let's kind of pump brakes for a second. I mean, we can nitpick how he can do things or not do things or do it better. But I think the broader picture, what we're missing is that BET is owned by a black man. VH1 is owned by a black man who puts black actors, who has black shows. Now we can argue with the content or the written part. Right. We can parse it through. But the same, but that's the problem. We can't have it both ways. Do you want to own it or not?
What was my question though, bro? What was my question?
Your question is, do you think he'll bring it back to that level? I don't know. I mean,
that's all I asked. That's all I asked.
Right, but to say, with Quan saying no, Nate saying no, my point is we need
to. That's their opinion. That's their opinion.
I'm not saying I know that's their opinion. Right. But what I'm saying is that we got to start. We got to be fair to a certain extent. I understand where we at. Okay, we can't want the battle, and then the warriors that's coming along. We like, well, you know, he don't do this, he don't do that. If he a general, guess what? The fact that he a general, the fact that he's a black man that brought BET black into black, and he has black shows, black characters. He has black. We can argue the content, but at least initially it's owned by black. All about. He has his own black studios. Okay. So let's talk about what he is trying to do, what he can do, and we can parse it. Everybody perfect. We can talk about
once again. We don't know what he's trying to do.
Right. But what I'm saying is that
all we know is that he owned it. I just asked the question.
I know, but what I'm saying is that
do you believe that it will go back to some of that great content that a lot of us grew up on?
Right, but he's not listen, he is not the owner with Robert Johnson, right? He's not. I don't know what Tyler Perry is going to do. Do I believe he can do it? I think he can bring. I think he can bring. I think he's smart enough as a businessman to see how a product used to be, and maybe you switch it up, maybe do some stuff. I'm just glad that he owns it. I'm glad that it's black owned. I'm glad that he owns VH1, BET. I'm glad he has black shows, black characters, black content in an arena that is not controlled by nobody but him, which I'm cool with, because everybody else in Hollywood, all them other black people in Hollywood is controlled by somebody else. So guess what? He ain't perfect. The content ain't perfect. And the situation may not be perfect, but it's good enough for me to say, you know what, man? Hey, you know what? You infiltrated the system. You got what you got. You got out of the lion gate. He always got his own. He always been independent. He always rocked his thing. So that's how I look at it.
So right. So let me ask you this, Chee. Chee. So you just happy that Tyler Perry owns BET? Can I ask you or pose the same question? Are you happy that Clarence Thomas is a Supreme Court justice?
Clarence Thomas ain't Tyler Perry.
Yes or no? Give me a yes or no.
All black people ain't the same. That's like every one is not the same.
Yes or no?
That's like completely out of contact. Okay. Because promise you this, you want to talk about Clarence Thomas, the road to it. Guess what? When Clarence Thomas got a Supreme Court, he forgot he was black. At least we know it. At least we know this much. If Tyler Perry took BET, there's a better chance he might put on black shows.
Yes or no?
Clarence Thomas.
Or is it a better chance? Or is it a better chance of being a wolf in sheep's clothing? That's what black folks.
Wow.
That's what we always call.
You think Tyler Perry? I mean, really at this point now, Tyler Perry and Clarence Thomas, bro. It's not even.
How the hell is he not, Chee? Chee, how the hell is he not? Listen to what you're saying. Tyler Perry. Hold on. I'm gonna give it to you. Give me the synopsis. Again, you're looking at the extremity of Clarence Thomas, but I'm gonna paint it for you. Look at the synopsis.
He's a narcissistic, selfish bastard who got to the Supreme Court on affirmative action and then turned it down.
And who's Tyler Perry? Who the hell is Tyler Perry?
Tyler Perry worked all his plays, did all these black folks, went to white people, did all kind of white shows, white productions, and then bought a black station, have black shows, have a black studio, and has black people. Clarence Thomas ain't got nothing black except his skin color, and if you can trade him over, we'll take Jane Elliott and trade him in a minute.
Gee, Tyler Perry owns just about anything you could think of as a black man when it comes to digital media, and he still writes all of his shows. He is the executive producer on all of his shows. So to answer Chris's question, will it ever get back to goddamn BET about? How can it if he's the only one in control of what we process through his shows? Now, I'm not saying he might not do it. Maybe he buying a fee. He's too much for him to have his hands in everything.
The question is, can he do it? There's a better chance of him saying he can do it because he owns the station. He owns it. So I could say, you know what? He can. He cannot probably, but I have a better chance. It's a 80% chance I could say, you know what? He could probably do it because he own it.
Okay. Well, we can leave it at that.
He own it. I'm glad he own it.
Be careful what you ask for, Chee.
Hey,
be careful what you ask for.
You know what?
You'll be getting goddamn sisters and brothers, motherfucker. Sisters and brothers all goddamn day long.
I don't care.
One good show Tyler Perry writes. He has 30 different shows that are effed up. Are you kidding me?
You know, Quan, you're right. They may be all effed up.
You know what? I ain't watched.
Which one or 10?
You know we can solve that? Let me help you how we can solve that. We can hire better writers.
He's the only writer.
I'm just saying. He's the only one right. You're right, Quan. He's the only writer.
That's what I'm telling you.
And you're right. He's a control freak. So that's a flaw, and we could get him ready. I can get him squared away in one area of flaw, but at least he owns the station. Ain't no person gonna come take it from him, and he can sit here, get knocked in the head a couple times, maybe learn from it. I don't know, but he ain't Clarence Thomas. That's when we're going to stop falling for the wolves in sheep clothing. We know we're going to stop falling for the Clarence Thomas.
You touch
like a brother.
Clarence Thomas, bro.
You touch
a white woman, Clarence Thomas. Candace Owens, best friend. Candace Owens, best friend.
You know who Tyler Perry is? Cool. Tyler Perry is the master's right hand man on them plantations. The black man that be beating all them slaves and shit. That's who Tyler Perry is.
That's who Tyler Perry is. Who
Tyler Perry?
So let me say, get this straight. Tyler Perry, who owns the plantation, who not only owns the plantation, he owns he owns the stations. He gives black people an opportunity. Them same black folks. He don't beat them down. He put them on the forefront, and the same black actors wouldn't get an opportunity in some of these other stations, some of these other shows. I don't see them running over there. I don't see them leaving them. And they speak highly of him because they say he at least give them an opportunity to make some stuff happen in Atlanta. Let me see, where all them other actors we talking about? I don't see Denzel with his own studio. I don't see Chris Tucker with his own studio. I can list a list of black people. Where's Will Smith? Will Smith. He been in Hollywood forever. That's wolf in sheep's clothing.
I say you don't see
You
don't see Denzel on a Tyler Perry movie either.
But you know what? Here's the difference, though. I don't see Denzel. You know what Denzel answered to? All in white folk. You know what Will Smith answered to? All in white folk. At least, guess what? Tyler Perry, if he wants to, he can talk to the white people, but he don't have to. And that's the difference to my black, what we talking about. Because y'all were just talking about where we don't have our own. That dude have his own. Now, we could talk about his content. We could talk about it could be better or different or anything else. Doesn't matter. He could be a narcissist or everything else. But he got his own. And it's black owned.
We're going to talk about Byron Allen now.
Yeah, Byron Allen. And you know, I'm all for Byron Allen. That's my point. I'm all for Byron Allen, Tyler Perry. Name the list. If you own your stuff and you are black and you are trying to do something and you offer black people, I'm all for that. I don't care. You got flaws. People are human. I don't care what you do.
No, I feel you. I get that, man. But
I'm with you, bro. Look. I'm with you on that. That Clarence Thomas thing.
I mean,
bro, ain't nobody. Hey, you about to get me out of the car? This Clarence Thomas, bro. I don't even like that dude, bro. That's the one cat, Clarence Thomas.
You know what's funny about this though? You know what's funny about this? Because this is digital. You recorded it. This is live, and 10, 20 years later, we're gonna go back and look at this, and you're gonna remember what you said about.
You know what, man? I can tell you 10, 20 years from now.
It's gonna be 2 years from now. What you talking about?
I can assure you, Tyler Perry ain't never gonna beat Clarence Thomas.
This gonna be Clarence Thomas, but
bro, this cat here on another level, bro.
Tyler Perry,
done everything you could think of against black people. On any level. On any level. You name it, Clarence Thomas going to go left. If black people going left, look, if black people going left, Clarence Thomas going right. We all know that off the rip.
Tyler Perry going to bring back Uncut.
Tyler Perry said his new show. Tyler Perry said his new show. He said, I gave you brothers. I gave you sisters. My new show. Niggas. Come in this time.
You know what? That don't matter. Because if we get
fall of 2023, niggas.
And maybe we need a show like that. Because I know a bunch of them. And if you put the right characters in place, I'm finna watch it. I'm like, you know what? I know them niggas. I know niggas just like that. Come on, Tyler. I know about 3, 4 right now.
Oh man.
Everybody gonna be watching it. I'm trying to tell you.
Watch it. I'm not recording. What you mean? I'm gonna watch it. Tyler, give me a Tyler.
We're gonna be looking bad on that mug. That's all it is,
man. Listen, man, we're gonna get off of here, man. I didn't know check the time. We done had so much fun on here fooling with y'all. I don't like it.
You gotta do a part 2, my G.
All right, we're gonna do part 2. Y'all, this I don't think we've been here so long. People, I think people still watching. That's crazy.
We're gonna do a part 2.
Still watching us, man.
We're gonna do a part 2, and Nate just gonna be talking the whole time. We're just gonna be sitting.
Damn what Nate's gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Make no sense.
You my boy, Nate.
You my boy, Blue.
Yeah.
Nate is his own podcast with that right there.
So, wow. Crazy.
All right, so we about to be up out of here, man. Y'all, thanks for tuning in. You will do a part 2 to this. Stay tuned for that. If you think this is crazy, we about to get even deeper because Nate gonna be on here. Yeah. That's gonna be even crazier. I don't even know why you even gonna have him on here, but we're gonna have him on here because we know how it's about to go down anyway. So affirmative action today. We went all kind of topics we always do. All right, good, bad, or otherwise. This is why I love what we do. Thank my brothers for being on here. Quan, Cakefish. Nate in the comments, even though he's not on the show, this is beyond here. He had a restaurant. You know what I'm saying? My queen, the producer.
Clarence Thomas is the queen.
Man, don't even give me man. I'm gonna end it on that. No, I don't even like that dude, man. You're gonna wrap me up. I got me riled up bringing up that dude, man. Like, you put that on camera.
Gotta bring him up, man. And you know he was in the 6 that voted against, though. You know,
bro, man. Hey, man, don't even mention that dude to me, bro. That's like
OJ did it.
Hey, man, this dude here. Hey, man, we out of here, y'all. God bless y'all.
Appreciate y'all for having me, man.
Always, family. All right, y'all, we out of here.